Hey, everybody. Welcome to a Monday Night Football preview edition of Bleav In Lions, brought to you by FanDuel. And it will be one hell of a matchup on Monday night when the 4-2 Detroit Lions host the 5-1 and NFC leading Tampa Bay Buccaneers on their home field at Ford Field. Looking forward to the preview. I'm Trevor Thompson, joined as always by your favorite former Lions All-Pro safety and mine, Glover Quinn. And Glover, today we've got a very special guest with us, a guy whose family name is synonymous with the position quarterback. He is the son of former NFL quarterback Phil Simms. He's the younger brother of former NFL quarterback Chris Simms. He's a former NFL quarterback in his own right, and he is the founder of the elite quarterback training camp, Simms Complete, and the podcast host of Simms Complete. He is Matt Simms. Matt, we really appreciate you joining us this morning. We're looking forward to your insights on a couple of guys who are playing the position at an elite level so far this year in Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield. I've got a million questions for you, but before I get to mine, turn it over to the star of the show, Glover Quinn. He gets his first cracks at you here this morning. Glover, good to see you, my man. What have you got for Matt Simms here today?
Well, I'm just going to jump right into it. And I've been pretty adamant, been saying it over and over and over. We've talked about Jared Goff. We've talked about Baker Mayfield. We have a quarterback guru in the house. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Can you talk to me about the differences in the play style and the leadership style from Jared Goff to Baker Mayfield, and why it feels like Baker Mayfield can pull his team out of a struggling moment, and it's like if it's not going well for the Lions, it's like Jared Goff cannot pull them out of that moment. Like, what's the difference in that from a psychological standpoint with the team and these quarterbacks?
Well, I think right now we're kind of prisoners of the moment, right? We see that with Baker right now and just the way that they're winning in those last minute. But we've seen that with Jared Goff before. We've seen him come up clutch. We've seen him play really good on the road and make some big time wins. And listen, this is a guy, too, that's participated in the Super Bowl, right? That's taken his team to the Super Bowl with Todd Gurley and that offense and how good they were. And of course, like with anything, it's just, what have you done for me lately? And lately, Baker has just been delivering and depositing a little bit more cash into our banks because the dude is just that dominant of a football player right now, one of the hottest players in the league. And, hey, that's something to take away from Jared Goff. He's had his moments, right, where he has been one of the top 5, if not one of the best quarterbacks in the league in a week-to-week basis. Hey, fun fact, too. Since 2021, Jared Goff, most 2+ touchdowns of any other quarterback, right? And I wrote down the list because I was just amazed. He's got 29 2+ touchdown games since 2021. That's ahead of Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, right? Mahomes and Allen, right? So that's a hell of a list that this dude is on. And, this guy, it's just unbelievable how consistent he is and how underappreciated he is, I feel like, in just the grand scheme of it. So I don't know what it is about that damn lion on the helmet, whether it's Matt Stafford, whether it's Jared Goff. We just cannot give the Lions QBs their flowers when it's due. But this is going to be a great matchup. The styles, you're absolutely right. They're different. Baker is just like a scrappy, gritty, backyard ball type of football player. Very underrated thrower on the run. And Jared Goff, hey, just more prototypical and definitely relies, I think, a little bit on just the surrounding cast to kind of balance everything out for him, probably more so than Baker does with his style. And ultimately, yeah, I think it kind of relies a little bit more for Jared. The running game. When the running game is really good, he's an absolute assassin because he is one of the best play action quarterbacks in the country. So sorry, long ass answer. Apologize for that.
No, I was
actually brought it back. Yeah.
Hey, we got time.
Yes. Well, I was actually gonna ask you about that because that's one thing I've always said about Jared. And I'm a Jared fan. I mean, I'm a Lions fan. I just call it how I see it. And like you said, Jared is really good off the run and the play action. And you saw on Sunday night when Kansas City was able to slow Jahmyr Gibbs down and get ahead on the Lions to kind of, take away that running game. They tried to stick with it a little bit.
Yeah.
But when Jared Goff gets into more of a drop back game and the defense starts to bring pressure, seems like he just struggles a little bit more. Am I missing something?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I do. And I think a part of that is more so or at least this year specifically, right, is the fact that, Coach Morton, we got to understand he's still trying to figure out like his, like, hey, it's third down, it's pressure. What do I do? What are the calls that we can really rely on? We're not seeing the same type of connection between Jared Goff and Amon-Ra in the third down situations like we did with Ben Johnson. Not yet. I expect them to figure that out soon, but it hasn't been quite as clean as what we've seen the past two years offensively between those two cats, right? We saw that one big drop by Amon, right, and that low pass by Jared Goff. But I think ultimately kind of where I go back to this conversation when I watch the film of this football game, it's not more so like, man, Detroit, bad Detroit. It's more so like, man, Spags, the defense is legit. And we always talk about Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce and all that. The team is built on great defense. And I think for the Detroit Lions, think whatever you want about, right, their record, the Kansas City Chiefs. You just played a Super Bowl caliber defense where Chris Jones actually was the Chris Jones we expect him to play like. And guys like Chamari Connor and Trent McDuffie and Drew Tranquill were just all over your stuff. So I think just a great lesson for them to learn here early. And Coach Morton, right, when we play defenses like that get in our face, that get aggressive, right, how can we still get the football to Ahmad, to Jamison Williams more consistently than what we saw, especially if our running game is falling short?
Matt, it wasn't that long ago that we can all agree it looked like Baker Mayfield was on his way out of the league. You didn't know what the future held for this guy. Then comes last Sunday. They beat the 49ers 30-19 at home, and there's chance of MVP as the guy is walking off the field. Now, look at the FanDuel odds on this, and it surprised me, really. Baker Mayfield is plus 350, third in the odds for the MVP in the league this year. That is ahead of Jared Goff, who is fifth at plus 1,500. The only guys ahead of Mayfield, Mahomes and Josh Allen. How did this guy turn himself into a guy who's on his way out of the league into a guy who they're chanting MVP and has legit odds, according to FanDuel, to get that done? How do you do this?
That's what's awesome about the quarterback position, right? Is that the fact that, like, you could have guys like Lamar, like Josh Allen, like Baker, like Jared Goff, and you line up in a row and you'd be like, hey, which one's the star quarterback here? You'd be like, well, I don't know, man, and you could find different ways to win and be great at that position and really just be a force multiplier. And I think ultimately that's the biggest thing. Glover's seen it before. Some dudes walk in a locker room and just like, hey, I own this place, and you could just feel it and it. And Baker's kind of just one of those cats, right? He was always that way. And unfortunately for him, he was drafted by the Browns. And, when you're drafted by the Browns and that quarterback situation and everything that they go on, well, guess what? That it still holds true to this day. But I think that's what's so fun too about just the NFL, right? The stories that we get each and every year. For Baker, we always knew he was a good football player. And for him to overcome all this adversity, right? And how is he able to overcome this adversity? Well, he's a first-round draft pick. And when you're a first-round draft pick, you're going to get more swings at the plate than others, And for him, luckily, he was able to get reconnected with Sean McVay. And one of my favorite Baker stories is how he was just like, Sean McVay helped me find Baker Mayfield again. And, that speaks to just coaching and how important that is, right? It goes down to youth coaching. I'm a youth coach myself. I coach quarterbacks in this New Jersey tri-state area. And the biggest and most important thing that I can do is just uplift, right? And bring enthusiasm and an authenticity that excites people to be there in the first place. And that's what Sean McVay did for Baker Mayfield. And luckily for Baker, he has just made it absolutely work with Todd Bowles. And it doesn't hurt either when you got guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin running routes for you too to build up your confidence as well. But he no doubt is just a phenomenal talent, and really enjoy watching this turnaround of his career.
You brought up Mike Evans. You brought up Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka. Those guys not going to be available, at least at the time we're recording this podcast in the preview, not going to be available for Monday night. No Bucky Irving. How does that change things for Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who right now, like you say, one of the hottest teams in the league, leading the NFC at 5-1? How does that change things for them on the road, Monday Night Football? How do they keep that momentum going given those circumstances?
Man, it's going to be difficult. It really is, because it's like, hey, I respect the entire skill group that they have, right? With Rashad Wright, Sterling Shepard still available, Tez Johnson flashed last week as well. He's the one that thought the MVP chance were for him. So I don't know what the hell that young man was thinking, but he balled out. And I love the story of him telling the guys on the sideline too. That was phenomenal. But yeah, it's going to be a tall task. It really is. And I think the bigger thing is just the emotional wins that the Tampa Bay Bucks, you typically have that kind of like come down at some point, right? And I feel like this might be one of those great matchups, right? Where it's like, all right, hey, the Lions could get them. The Lions coming off of a tough loss to Kansas City, where, basically Kansas City kind of just out-physicaled them from start to finish. The whole thing with Brian Branch and his one-game suspension. I think Coach Campbell, the coaching staff, they're going to be pretty invigorated to making sure that their team is fired up, ready to go, playing sharp, executing at a high level, and resetting that Detroit Lions standard that he's created there. So it's going to be difficult, and I think just the crowd noise and being on the road is going to play into the favor of the Detroit Lions football team this weekend.
Yeah, I think Tampa is going to try to make that game like Kansas City did. I think they know they're shorthanded offensively, but they just went to San Francisco, and Emeka Buka got hurt in the first quarter, so he didn't really play last week either, and They didn't have time to really prepare for him not being there. I mean, this week they've prepared a whole game plan for those guys not being there, so they're going to be prepared not to have them. And I think that team defensively, they're going to feel like we can't allow Detroit to score 30-plus points because offensively, we're probably not going to be at that level. So defensively, I feel like they're going to try to dictate the tempo, put the pressure on the Lions, stop the run game, and say, hey, if we can slow down Amon-Ra St. Brown and slow down this run game, we can put some pressure on Jared Goff, and hopefully we can get him to throw us a couple or at least slow them down to where we don't expect the offense to have to score 30, 35 points, that we can try to win a 24-17 ball game on the road in Detroit. So I'll be interested to see, for one, because the Lions, we're struggling in the secondary. Like you said, losing Brian Branch, Terrion Arnold, DJ Reed, like we got guys that's coming in that I've never even heard of.
Right.
How long they've been there. And I think it's a lot easier to, put guys in on the offensive side of the ball than have these defensive guys come in there, because now the communication, the execution of different coverages and situational stuff it's a little more difficult in the secondary. And so that's one of the things. It's like, okay, can our backups in the secondary, hold up against an offense? And can our D-line and linebackers play better than their D-line and linebackers? Because that's probably going to be what comes down to it. And then special teams, obviously.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think really you're exactly right. The Detroit Lions front seven really needs to win this battle, right? We need a great game by Campbell, by Anzalone, by the rest of the defensive line, Aiden Hutchinson. Hey, we can't have snafus where we're roughing the passer in critical situations, right, on an incomplete pass. So all that stuff definitely needs to be cleaned up. The secondary is definitely going to be a little bit of a question mark. There's no doubt going into this football game. I do just think that Kelvin Shepard has done a good job of kind of reinventing the defense into his own identity and doing a good job of that and managing the expectations of this team. And I think overall, it's going to be a little easier, right, as far as the style in which the Tampa Bay Bucks play. When you play against Kansas City, I think this is what threw them off. Right? A lot of quick hitting plays, the extension of the running game, right? Get the football out quick. Let's get some space. Let's get 6 yards. You don't see a ton of that from the Buccaneers offense. So I'm curious, to your point, Glover, if we see the Bucks try to implement some of those things this week, especially on the road. It's kind of tough, though, to go away from what your identity is offensively. Right. The other thing is just like, hey, if you get hands on Baker, he's got to go down. Because each and every week of this season, we've seen about 6 or 7 plays that were game-changing plays where it's like the defense, quote-unquote, won the down, but they didn't get the dude down on the ground. So let's not do the old like, oh, he's stronger than I thought. Listen, he's a strong dude. Get his ass down, all right? I don't care what he looks like, all right? Get him down to the ground. And I think the other part, too, is because I know exactly what you mean. I don't know if Todd Bowles and that defense can run a similar style that Spags and the Chiefs ran just with their personnel. What we're going to see probably a little bit more of is just they're going to try to disguise as much as they can pre-snap to post-snap with their looks. That's what they got with Mac Jones, right? In the first and the fourth quarter, they got those interceptions because they showed a single high look, went to two, right? And he threw into that trap coverage right away. So we'll see a lot of that stuff. If they can run the football, that'll limit some of that post-snap movement. It'll make them a little bit more predictable. And of course, that'll help them win the football game. But, just X's and O's and Johnny's and Joe's, I'm just not so sure if Tampa Bay can play that same way that the Chiefs did. They're going to watch the Chiefs film and be like, well, we can't do that because we don't have the personnel. Right. We don't have those dudes on our team. So it'll be really just about just how can they confuse Jared Goff if they are winning the Lions scrimmage and stopping the run with Sonic and Knuckles.
Matt, you mentioned it a couple of times, the word identity, and that's what these guys try to play to on the field. But when you're online, you want to protect your identity. That leads us to this. Delete Me makes it quick, easy, and safe. Yeah, you know how I did that there? Yeah, that was pretty smooth, right?
Very good.
But Delete Me makes it quick, easy, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everybody vulnerable. Data brokers make a profit off of your data. Your data is a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, and harassment. But now you can protect your privacy with Delete Me. The New York Times Wirecutter has named Delete Me their top pick for data removal services. As guys, we certainly want to protect our identity online, and maybe you know someone who's been a victim of identity theft, harassment, or doxing. If you haven't, you probably will soon because this is an epidemic, and Delete Me can help. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners, you can get 20% off a Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/pro and use the promo code PRO at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/pro, enter the code PRO at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/pro, code PRO. What would you say the identity of this Bucs team is going forward? I mean, right now, if you look at the FanDuel odds for the Super Bowl, they are 7th at plus 1,800. It's funny you think they're 7th at 1,800. But then Baker Mayfield is 3rd at plus 300 for the MVP voting. What's the difference in there as far as the Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, what they think of them and what they think of the team overall as far as the odds for the Super Bowl and how that ties into their identity?
Yeah, I think overall, right, you kind of look at the Bucs roster and, of course, if you go away from the offensive skill group, it's like there's nothing that really makes you say like, well, they got this and this and this on defense and they got the – hey, Vita Vea is a great football player. They got a lot of solid football players. Jamil Dean with the interception last week. But, they don't really, I guess, have that superstar power. And I think the other part of it, too, is that they're in Tampa Bay, right? They're in an environment, right, where just, let's face it, as good as Baker is playing, ESPN and Fox and all that, they're not talking about the Bucs that much, right? So unless they got an MVP caliber quarterback, that's the only reason why they're being discussed. So I think the biggest thing for them going forward is it's all about just the playmaking of Baker Mayfield, and it's all about Todd Bowles. Can you just win those situational games week to week where he's mixing up looks, he's creating chaos, and that's where, like last week, hey, Mac Jones is able to throw for 350 yards in that football game. They were able to move the football pretty consistently through the air. They stopped Christian McCaffrey in the running attack, right? So that's a big thing. But overall, they just don't have enough of that star power or that sex appeal, right, that people want to see when they attach that Super Bowl name to them, right? They don't have that same thing that the Baltimore Ravens had going into the preseason where it's like, oh, they got Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. It's like, yeah, how's that working out for you now? So, the truth is that we don't know, right, what we don't know. And every NFL season, we have an inkling or we think, right, hey, how it's going to play out. But Glover, I mean, right? You've been on teams where like you thought you were going to be good and you stunk. And then you've been on teams where you thought you were going to be bad and you were good as hell, right? As the season progressed. So you just never know. The truth is, though, is that Baker's that dude, right? And if he's healthy, it doesn't matter who the skill guys are on the outside. He's going to give him a fighting chance. And, that's good enough for me right now.
Yeah, I mean, it all goes hand in hand. I think Baker is good. And, when you start talking about the Super Bowl, I mean, when you get into the playoffs, we obviously know it's difficult. I mean, you can win regular season games. you can will teams to regular season games with lack of players. It's just hard to win in the playoffs, man. You know, the stars have to show up in the playoffs. And I just think without, at this point, obviously, you know, with Mike been injured all year and Chris Godwin battling, I mean, it's just hard to win in the playoffs without your guys. I mean, we saw the Lions last year with their guys offensively. You know, defensively we were hurt, but last year offensively we had our guys and we still got shut down in the playoffs,
right,
against the Commanders team. So, and we were a home team and the number 1 seed. Like it's it's just hard. And so, you know, the odds are the odds, and that's why they make them at this point. You know, I can't put Tampa up there. You know, although Baker is having a good year so far, and like Matt said earlier, I mean, we're all prisoners of the moment. He's playing well, and it's exciting. We love excitement, especially on the week-to-week basis. You know, when you send a bunch of games and you in the heart of the season, we love the excitement, and everybody loves the underdog, and they love the story of Baker Mayfield, and I mean, it's all fun. So it'll win you some games. I don't know if it's going to get them a win on Monday night against the Detroit Lions, and I don't know if it's going to get them a Super Bowl, but it will bring some excitement to Tampa. Like Matt said, they don't get that much excitement in Tampa. So
the team's got to be excited though overall, right, to know that they're winning games despite the fact that they don't have those dudes out there. So those guys that are on the sidelines, like you could even see Chris Godwin, like he's like, hey, damn, this dude's. He's doing it again, and I'm not even playing. You know, so they got to be excited about the fact of like, all right, when they do get back, when the Avengers do reassemble, that they're going to be that much better of a football team, and that's always a positive thing for a football team that way.
When you look at Jared Goff, Matt, I'm wondering what you see, because like you said, I feel like he's underappreciated. I agree with you on that. As far as completion percentage goes, he leads all quarterbacks in the NFL. He's leading in touchdowns thrown. He's second in passer rating right now, but nobody talks about him. You're talking about Josh Allen. You're talking about, well, you were talking about Lamar Campbell until he got hurt. You're talking about Baker Mayfield right now. Patrick Mahomes always gets love. Why do you think Jared Goff, with those kind of numbers, continues to be overlooked? What do you see, and why do you think that is?
Trevor, who the hell is Lamar Campbell?
Lamar Campbell.
Yeah. I keep saying Lamar Campbell. He's a former Lion. I love that dude, too. He's a good guy. But Lamar Jackson, you know what? One of the viewers called me out on it, too. So thanks for calling me out on it here. Yeah, Lamar Jackson. Do you remember Lamar Campbell?
I don't.
No, Trevor. We do not remember Lamar Campbell.
I'll take your word for it. I'm sure he's a damn good football player.
He's a good dude, too. Good dude.
No, I mean, I think for Jared Goff, right, it's just like, you know, we always just want to crown, I think, just the special players that kind of make the stuff outside of the structure of the play, as we say in football, right? And I think right now we just love to celebrate that. And I think sometimes when we get talking about some of these system quarterbacks, right, and that's what Jared Goff's been labeled as his whole career. He's a system guy. He wouldn't be as good if you didn't have Sean McVay and Ben Johnson and now Coach Moore and all that. But it's like, hey, he does, so deal with it. I think it really just comes to the fact that, like, you know, when you do talk about, hey, your favorite movie stars, your favorite music stars, all that celebrity aspect of it, he just doesn't have that celebrity appeal to him like some of these other guys do in the league. And I think that's honestly why he gets overlooked, right? Like a lot of people look at guys like Lamar or Josh Allen, man, I would love to hang out with them. You know, and then they see Jared Goff and they're like, he seems like a cool dude from California. All right, cool. You know, and like they move on. But, you know, it doesn't matter. And that's why the position is so awesome. And ultimately, you got a quarterback that has obviously redefined his legacy, right, from his trade from Los Angeles to Detroit. He has revitalized that whole franchise along with Coach Campbell. And man, you know, it's only a matter of time before that number's retired and it's sitting in the rafters there in Detroit because of just how impactful I feel like he has been to the franchise, right? It really has been that special. And now just the missing piece to it is just like, hey, can they just get over that last little hurdle and can they make that Super Bowl run? Right. And of course, health is a big question mark of that. And it's not really necessarily Jared Goff's fault that they've fallen short. But, you know, that would be one of those things that I think if he gets to a Super Bowl with the Detroit Lions, right, if he's playing an NFC championship game again with the Detroit Lions, all right, people are going to start to come around and start to finally give this dude the respect he deserves. I mean, it's taken Matt Stafford, I mean, literally almost 20 years of his life to earn any respect.
Wow,
like ESPN just realized like 3 days ago, hey, Matt Stafford's pretty good, and yet still somebody wanted to give Puka Nacua the MVP. And it's just like, what are you talking about? Like, if Matt Stafford ain't throwing him the ball, he's just a dude, Now, like, I shouldn't say that. We know Puka Nacua is better than just a dude, but it is just, it's just, you know what? That's a whole nother show, Glover. We can't do this right. Don't do that to me right now. But still, it's just it's kind of just shows you, right, how it takes time, I think, for people to kind of rewrite the narrative or the story or the reputation of players and why it's so important. And for Jared Goff, hey, he's eventually going to get the credit he deserves. And that's why I'm banging the table right now saying that this dude is one of those guys.
We've talked about Super Bowl odds. We've talked about MVP odds, but let's just take it into the moment right now. In the FanDuel odds on this upcoming game on Monday night, have the Lions giving 5.5 and the over-under set at 52.5. Glover leans back in his chair like that every week, Matt, like that, takes it all in, tries to assess it, tries to figure out what the score is going to be and all this sort of thing. What do you got for me, Glover and Matt? I'm interested in your take on those FanDuel odds for this game coming up on Monday night, which is a big one as we battle it out in the NFC for the division, the conference lead.
So FanDuel is the Lions are given 5.5?
Given 5.5, 52.5 over under.
Oh my. FanDuel. I 5.5 is gonna be tough. I think. I mean, I feel like I like Tampa's defense for some reason. I just feel like, Levante David, he does a lot in that middle that can slow down Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta, and if we haven't hit a deep ball to Jameson in 5 weeks. I don't know when we've thrown a deep ball to Jameson in the last 4 weeks. I mean, we're trying to make him a possession guy. That's Amon. So I don't know about 5.5, and the Lions secondary scares me.
Right.
5.5 is tough, and 52 points. That's tough too. I don't know if I can. This week with FanDuel, I may have to take the under. I'm generally the over guy, but I may have to go with the under. And it's hard for me to pick against the Lions because it's the Bleav In Lions show, but 5.5 is tough. 5.5 is tough.
It's our damn show, and I can't pick against them, but I might have to pick against them anyway. And
5.5.
I think that number 52 is set just because of the fact of, like, all right, hey, worst case scenario, Vegas is thinking, well, it is Baker Mayfield, and if they are going to win the game, he might throw that ball 60 times. He might drop back and just like cut it loose, right, against that Lions secondary that is banged up, like you're mentioning. So that might be the reason why that number is the way that it is. And honestly, I'm a little shocked. I would have thought maybe it'd been a little higher than that. And I think ultimately Vegas set it too for just the 5.5 points in the favor of the Lions, more so just for the fact that the Tampa Bay Bucks, they've been winning. They've been putting points up. There's no doubt about it. It has been by the skin of their teeth. The defense has been playing good, but the defense definitely gives up a lot of explosive plays, and it's very feast or famine-ish. Now, credit them. They've made the 2 or 3 plays it seems like they need to late in every football game, no matter what it is, right, defensively, and how they do it. But I think Vegas does see the fact that, like, the defense has been leaky at times, and even guys like Mac Jones throwing for almost 350, I think it was one of the reasons why that it's set that way.
Each team, the over-under for each team, the Lions 29.5 it's set at, the Bucks 23.5 it's set at, so we'll see how it all unfolds. Time enough in the show for each of you guys to give me one thought on what you're going to be looking for on Monday night from each team. Go ahead, Matt.
Detroit Lions, run the damn ball. I mean, it's just that simple. Sonic and Knuckles, like, we need to see 100 yards. If they surpass that magical 100-yard number, they're going to win the football game. The 2 times that they haven't done that, they've lost, of course, to Green Bay and to Kansas City. Run the football. It's all about attempts. It's all about controlling the tempo of the game. Limit possessions for Baker Mayfield and that offense with those young cats. the limited amount of possessions with the crowd noise and all that plays into the favor of Kelvin Shepherd and that defense. So, hey, give me the Lions here at home to get this dub.
Well, I'm taking the opposite approach. I'm not saying not to run the ball. I'm not saying not to run the ball, but I'm saying use the pass to open up the run game. We got to get more explosive plays down the field. Come out taking shots, loosen up the Tampa Bay. We say they've given up big plays. Let's see. Let's give up. Let's try to hit them over the top. And then once you start doing that, now you can always come back to the running game to control the game and still end up with 150 yards rushing. But I think a lot of times the Lions come out and they just try to run, and then get in obvious passing situations. And now we kind of get behind. Come out, be explosive, make the Tampa Bay Buccaneers feel our explosiveness. Get Jamison Williams going. Get amon-ra St. Brown deeper than 5 to 7 yards down the field. Get Sam Laporta going. Make Levante David open up his hamstrings and run down the middle of the field, and then make him come back and chase Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Make them do that, and then let's see how it goes. So I'm going to say, yes, we do need to stick to the run game, but we got to use the passing game to get things opened up. And I will take the Lions at home.
Hey, Levante David, hey, warm up those hamstrings, dog. All right, because Grover's trying to run seams right down the middle. All right, so let's go. All right.
And I like Levante. He's a good dude. But we got to take some hamstrings.
Yeah, that's right.
I see the football world talking about Baker Mayfield for a whole different reason after this one, because of how many times he'd be picking himself up off the ground after Aiden Hutchinson gets in that backfield and lights him up. So that's what I'll be looking for as the Lions also look to boost their record and tie the Bucs at the top of the NFC as far as that goes. It'll be an entertaining Monday night football game. Matt Sims, thanks for taking the time out to preview it for us. Glover, as always, appreciate you. Lamar Campbell, still got mad love for you, guy. Haven't forgotten about you. We'll talk about this one on our weekly recap when the Lions and the Bucs are all done with their Monday nighter here on Bleav In Lions. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.